How is everyone? Good. I think Andy's coming later. I've never done one in person.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Sam, did you ever do one your rookie year?
Did I ever do one my rookie year? No.
Oh, I guess you haven't then, no.
Yeah.
Chad, we good?
Good.
I think it's muted.
Yeah, you're muted there, so whenever you're ready to go, Sam.
Do I press spacebar or the thing?
You just unmuted.
Okay.
All right. Jason, want to kick us off?
Sam, thanks for speaking with us. Wanted to ask a little about, last week, Albertin said there was kind of to look at a different formation tonight, more familiar 4-3-3. How do you think the team is maybe built to carry that into next year, since this is kind of a weird game in terms of this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think from last year, most of this year, we played a 4-3-3, and I think it gets our best team out on the field, and it's the best formation for us to be playing. We play our best. I think everyone's most comfortable with it. We know where people are going to be at certain points, and we know how to like move and rotate and help each other out. So yeah, I think last week, of course, it was a trial, and it didn't work out, and now we're back to our usual formation, and I think everyone just feels more comfortable with it for sure, and I think it's something that has been solidified now.
And then tonight against Houston, a team that has been very good on the counter all year. Tonight it seemed like they were willing to come out and maybe step their lineup a little bit. How do you think you dealt with that collectively, given their thinking playoffs? You guys are it's kind of a difficult game to sort of prep for.
Yeah, I think just like what you said, they are built to counter, and I think they got us a few times for sure. Most of the second half, though, I think we did a pretty good job of just keeping our lines tight, going in, stepping up, and winning the ball. And I think it's just like from the front, back, pressure on the ball, covering each other. They definitely got at us a little bit in the first half, but the second half, I think we cleaned it up for sure.
Was it good?
Sam, we haven't really gotten a chance to talk to you since the coaching change, so how do you feel about Albertin and what he's brought into the team these last 5 matches?
Yeah, I think he brings a lot of really good energy, positivity, all of that. He's just a really good teacher, and I think at the time that he came in, we couldn't really make playoffs or anything like that, so I think he's kind of the perfect coach to bring in just because we were learning technical, tactical, things like that, just to build for next year, and I think it was a good addition for the rest of the season.
And for yourself, now capping off the year, what do you think of your overall play this whole season? What you like to see yourself improve heading into next year?
Yeah, I think that's a tough question. It's hard to think about this season and be super positive just because of what we're piggybacking off of from last year. I think we had a lot of really good moments individually and collectively. We just couldn't put it all together pretty much all season. I hate to say that we got unlucky, but I think we did, honestly. And then we got unlucky, and it just was a tough season overall. Couldn't really ever get going. And yeah.
Andre, go ahead.
Thanks, Sam. Just wanted to get your kind of thoughts on, in the offseason, you're going to be welcoming a new coach. So do you kind of like how involved do you expect to be in the selection of a new coach?
Honestly, probably not very involved. Yeah. We trust our front office people and our captains to make that decision. And we'll go from there. Hopefully it's decided sooner rather than later so we can get going and get training with whoever it may be. But, yeah, I'll find out when the rest of the girls do.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the season was pretty rough. Difficult season, weird season in a lot of ways. What do you have in mind to kind of now the off season to kind of process it and kind of put it behind you? Is there anything specific that you're looking to do to kind of move on from it and move on into the next season?
I don't know. I think that's a good question. I don't think we ever got much closure from last year. We all got home from the championship and had to go home for Thanksgiving. We never properly celebrated. So I think kind of that days carried into the beginning of this year. And now we just kind of went through this year. The beginning of the season was really tough, honestly, physically. It was pretty back to back. And then just carrying through the rest of the season, it felt weird. And so, like, trying to come to terms with, like, how all of that went is tough. I said it was a rough season, but, like, honestly, like, emotionally and mentally, being with all of the girls, like, you wouldn't have thought we were, like, in second to last place for most of the season. Like, we've had a really good vibe, and practices have been really great. Everyone is always so positive. So I think it's really a really interesting dynamic, and I honestly don't really know how I'm going to process it from here on out.
Sure, appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
What did you make of Houston's pressure on the offensive side towards the back line?
I think it was on and off. Sometimes they would come, sometimes they wouldn't come, and it was just dependent on how quick we played, if we were going to break their press or not. Towards the end of the game, it was pretty chaotic. Actually, most of the game it was pretty chaotic, but that's kind of how they like to play. Yeah, it was pretty just on and off pressure, yeah.
That's all. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe the mindset of the team coming to this last game?
Just have fun together. Like I've said, it was a rough season, but you wouldn't have known it being in the locker room. We all really enjoy each other's company. We enjoy playing with each other every single day. But yeah, just having fun, one last go around until next season.
Sam, you just mentioned, not being sure how to exactly process the year just yet. What are you going to do in the next few weeks here with, I imagine the plan was playoffs, and now that's kind of not in place. What are your plans for the offseason, basically?
Relax and travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Where
the
are you
most
going?
part.
Anything particular?
All around. I'll travel Europe, maybe around the U.S., all that good jazz.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, what do you personally want to get better at for next year to just give the team more success next season?
That's a tough question. I think, like, a little bit of everything from a leadership standpoint. I think, like, I have a lot of strides to make. Technically and tactically, there's just a lot of things to, like, hone in on. Yeah, just, like, honestly, a little bit of everything.
Alright, and I guess I know you had a play, I think it was early in the second half, and you cleared away a ball. None of us saw, or me and my friends saw what number the dash was, and you kind of cleared the ball away before they got a shot off. What was kind of going through the mind? Because obviously then the game was still 1-1.
Please don't score. Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it. Please don't score. I'm a pretty simple player. Please don't score.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
And we should have Andi Sullivan up next.
expecting a player, so I'm sorry. Should I?
All right, and one last time this season, we have interim head coach Albertin Montoya. Jason, kick us off.
Albertin, thanks for speaking with us. To ask a little, last week, obviously there was the look at playing out of the back three tonight. More customary 4-3-3 for the group. Sam said that she feels like they were more comfortable. What did you see playing out against a team that plays like the dash out of the more familiar system, so to speak?
It was definitely different than last week, and I thought we had some success with it. We were able to get in behind them because Sam and both Amber were able to play balls in behind. It was something they're used to. They've been training at it this season, for the last few weeks, and unfortunately it didn't go our way because I thought the team deserved a lot more. We had chances early on. We could have put them away, but we didn't. And then, a few plays that could have been called PK, maybe not. We'll have to look at the film, and we'll see how that goes. They're just much more comfortable in the back four. But for next season, they're going to have to be able to play in a back three and sometimes in a back five, depending on the game and the situation. Time will help with that.
Just maybe an overall look at your time coaching the team, how much do you think the group progressed in the last, 5-6 weeks?
So I had this conversation earlier. The question was how much did a group progress? And I came here and we had 8 days that I was able to work with them before our next game. So we were actually on the field training, and from the first week to the second week, I saw quite a bit of a difference in how they carried themselves, the positivity, the energy, and really applying what we were asking them to do. Then, as the pro level is, then you get on the road, and you're no longer really training the team. It's just now making sure they're fresh and going over some set pieces. When we were in Kansas City, we were practicing at their practice facility with cameras everywhere, and the coaches were looking out from the window. So we're like, okay, well, we're just going to do some light stuff. And then we came back, and they had tired legs, so we gave them a couple of days off. So I trained with them on Thursday. So there wasn't much training in the last 2 weeks, but the first 8 days, I'd like to think we saw a little bit of an improvement on just our possession, but more so the energy. And then we're trying to mix it up. Are we going to be dangerous? Are we possessing and just going sideways? One of the things that I asked them of today, which was very important, is can we get in behind their defense? Let's make runs. Let's be dangerous, something we didn't do in Kansas City. But today, you saw early on, we were making runs and we were a threat for them. And that's where I'm very pleased with the players, their attitude, their mentality. They're taking the information in and they're applying it. And then I guess it's been the entire season, right? They're just unfortunate, just unlucky. But they're all saying it's been the entire season that way. Last year, I think they got a little bit fortunate and ended up winning, and this year, kind of everything's going against them. But it's a very good group, and I think they're gonna have an outstanding season next year. It's a great organization, great leadership, and they just need to forget about the season, take some time off, and then come out and do some great things. Sorry for the long answer.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Competitive game tonight against a playoff quality team, and like you said, like a few chances go a little bit differently. The whole game is different. What did you see from like the mentality of the team, and like especially in a game where like the Dash are playing for possibly a home playoff game, you guys have been out of contention. Like, what does that say about this team?
Same thing I've been saying all along. Their mentality has been outstanding. We were down 1-0, right? We had chances early on, 1-0. You could have just said, hey, it's the last game, and packed it in. But no, we continued playing our game. We got the goal. We had chances in the second half. Then we went down, and we still were creating chances late in the second half. So the mentality of the players has been absolutely outstanding. I couldn't ask for anything more. I've been in teams when I've played or coached where it's just like you've got nothing to play for, and sometimes players just kind of stop and go. They're going through the motions. You can't say that about any player out here. We were fighting to the end, so a lot of credit to them.
Yeah, so coming in as the interim coach so late in the season, what were some of the goals you laid out for the team, and do you feel you achieved them?
So some of the goals that I laid out were changing the mentality, the culture a little bit of just believing in themselves, this kind of positive energy. I'd like to think that we achieved that. I mean, it shows when I'm talking to the players after the practices, after the game, and it's a talented group. They need to believe in themselves. I think they've lost a little bit of that belief and confidence. And my message to the team after the game was, look, you've got to believe all the way to the end. You're here for a reason, and play with that confidence, play with that freedom. Obviously, you have to understand your roles and responsibilities, but you could see, and even in today's game, there were players that were just kind of holding back from playing that ball that was on, or to switch it, or they're just not comfortable of, hey, I can turn and get the ball and switch the point of attack, but they just want to play the way they're facing, and that comes with a little bit of lack of confidence. And I'd like to think that, yes, we got better in that with some of the players, but now it's can they all do it? And when it all comes together, then it can be something special. But their belief is there, and that's something that I don't think they had from the beginning. Yes.
What's it like coaching player as obviously, well, I guess how well did they do, but what's it like coaching the players that were called up for the U.S. Women's National Team for their games this month?
Well, it's an honor to coaching them. They're some of the best players in the world, not just the country. So they bring this mentality and attitude of wanting to be the best, and that's also passed on to the rest of the players. So it was just a pleasure, and sometimes you just don't know what to expect from national team players. But all of the national team players on this group, every day at practice, they're out there, they're training, they're working just as hard as everyone's. There's no prima donnas, as I call it. It's just that they have the right mentality, and I can see why they're on the national team, and they've got a very bright future. So it's exciting.
I guess, what did you see from their performances tonight? At least all of them. I guess Trini Robin didn't have a shot, but she was all over the field. So everyone had like some record basically on the statistic or just dominant on the field. So what did you see from them?
Yeah, well, Trinity, like you said, she's all over the field. I mean, it'd be nice to play Trinity at right back, center back, right forward, left forward, everywhere, because she's just a competitor, and she created so much for us, drew the PK. Hatchie up top was doing a very good job today of holding the ball and connecting with her midfielders. And the plan was to go a little bit more direct, and she was getting flicking it on and creating opportunities for us. And then Sanchez was making runs in behind the defense and creating opportunities. She had that chance early on that Jane made a great save on. At the end, she's still making those runs, got into the box, can take players on. So, they all have those qualities, and it's just a pleasure watching them.
Hey, Albertin, just a question about, I know you talked a lot about what you got, maybe try to impart to the players in your short time here, but what is something that you'll be taking away from your experience here? I know that in your other role, I don't believe you were coaching. Did you kind of get the itch a little bit to maybe coach again, or?
But in the other role, so I do coach.
Okay.
I coach. I've been coaching nonstop for 25 years, and
My bad.
oh, I am, but I love coaching. So I'm on the field, and I coach two teams, a little bit younger than the pros. But even when I coach in the WPS, in my contract, I had to coach youth. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't leave that because I enjoy it so much. So sorry if I'm digressing. I would coach Marta and some of these great players, and I would drive an hour and coach 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds on the same day, which is pretty crazy. So the itch, yeah, I'm a competitor. And these are some of the best players in the world. And it's a very high level, so it's a little bit different than the youth game. So obviously, when I get back into this, it's like, I miss it so much. And I'd love to stay. This is an incredible group, but I've got something at home that I just can't. And in this, this is a joke, but my wife, it's true, she came here, not just for my last game, but to take me home because she was worried that I was going to stay. And she made it very clear. I'm like, no, I love it here that much. I mean, these players are just such a pleasure to work with in the organization and what Michelle and Mark are building. I'm like, and I would tell her every day, and she's like, uh-oh. And then everyone's like, you better go back over there and get him. And that's why she's here, not just to watch my last game. It's like, you're getting on a plane and coming back. So what I will take out of it is just just that level of play is just that competitiveness. I miss it. That's the best part of it.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Your wife answered my second.
Yeah. Yes.
So, as you touched on, you coached in the WPS. What would you say are some of the biggest differences between your experience working with that league and now with where the NWSL is, especially with how much farther the state has gotten than the other leagues we've had in like at this level for women? And then specifically, if you could also touch on the players that you've worked with previously and like that growth over this. It's been a while since you kind of had worked with them. What have you seen, or how was that experience for you?
One of the biggest difference is the support and the fans, the stadiums. I remember when we would travel, there would be maybe 1,000 fans, 1,200 at best. I was at just the first game that we were here. It was outstanding. I was blown away, right? The support and the community gets behind their team. The stadiums are completely different. Then I traveled my first road trip as L.A., and I'm like, these fans are crazy. And it was a Wednesday night, and I think we had 16,000. So the game has evolved quite a bit, and just the support and the ownership. Obviously, here in Washington and some of these new teams and owners coming in, they're really invested for the long term. And this is going to be a special time to be playing in the women's side. As far as the players, it's great players are great players no matter in what era, right? So I don't think much has changed. I think maybe it's a little bit more athletic right now than what I remember. And then now if you can find the athleticism and then just an understanding of playing a possession game and you put it together, then that's when teams I think will be special. But otherwise, I don't think nothing much has changed for the players, but the support and the fans and the facilities, and it's fun playing. That's why I also miss that now. It's like, wow, this is a good time to be in the league. Yeah.
And Jose, wrap us up.
Albertin, what advice would you give to Mark and the next coach that comes in order to excel this week?
Forget about this season. That's what I would tell them. They won a championship, so it's just forget about the season. In sports, when things aren't going well, it seems like everything just kind of goes against you. I experienced that in the WPS with in the first year. It's like, gosh, you're just not getting the PKs, or it hits someone's leg and you're getting own goals, so nothing goes in your favor. And it's like, we've got a quality side. Let's forget about this season. Really concentrate in preseason. That's going to be one of the most important things is preseason. This is our identity. This is who we are. This is how we're going to play and have a very good understanding of that. And then as the season goes, then you make little adjustments here and there. And that's whether it's a formation change from a 3-5-2 to a 4-4-2 to a 4-3-3. But most importantly is understand who you are and play to your strengths. Right, because sometimes we get caught in like, oh, I have to solve every problem. I have to change for the other team. I'm a big believer. I'm like, no, when you've got a team this talented, let's have other teams worry about us. So that's really what I would offer to the organization. Yeah.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Albertin.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, you guys. Gonna miss these talks. I don't mind them. Yeah, thank you. My wife's waiting outside. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Thank you, Coach.
You should be. Look, come after you if you don't want the yelling here. All right. Got Andi Sullivan. Jason, kick us off.
Andy, thanks for speaking with us. I wanted to ask, something Albertin just mentioned, in his time as interim coach, he felt like part of his job was to sort of change the attitude and the belief within the team. And a little while ago, after the coaching change, you mentioned that there was sort of a need to sort of roll with the punches a little more as a group. Do you feel in the last 5-6 weeks, I can't remember exactly how long it's been, but do you feel that that's sort of starting to take hold?
Yes. I think Albertin is a very positive and energetic person, and he's very consistent, and that rubs off on you. And we spend a lot of time together, so yeah, it spreads and it's contagious. So your energy, we say that to each other all the time. Is what you bring is contagious, whether it's positive or negative. So having him lead us was really helpful.
Kind of looking ahead, this is a big off season for the club, and I know you and Aubrey and Tori have been involved in a lot of decisions around the club. What are you maybe looking for as a priority for the direction of the club when it comes to the next coach and other areas that the team needs to progress in?
I'm looking forward to trusting Mark and having him make all the tough decisions. And obviously he'll ask for feedback and opinions and here and there, but I'm trusting him and that I can shift my focus more to playing and being the best player I can be for the team. So that is what I'm looking forward to the most.
How much has that been an issue before, going back to before Mark was hired? How much were you as leaders having to sort of fill in on that part?
A lot, and I'm grateful to be a part of a club where my opinion is valued, and also where I'm trusted by my teammates to get their feedback and present it and share it. But it can be very heavy, and especially when things are difficult. And it's a fine line between taking ownership and accountability for things that are yours, and then probably for things that are not. And I think sometimes I personally have struggled with taking on too much, or feeling that things are my responsibility, which I'd always rather defer to that than saying oh, it's not not my fault or problem or anything. But yeah, it's definitely. And it's, again, something I'm grateful for, and I think I'm learning a lot from it, but I think there's a balance, and I'm looking forward to learning in a different way, and that would actually probably be by observing Mark and how he's going to lead, along with Michelle.
Patrick?
Yeah, so you mentioned, of course, this has been a weird season, been an unfortunate season. You're still, of course, playing with the national team, but in terms of this season with the Spirit, what are your thoughts on what you might do to kind of process this season as you kind of get ready to go into the next one? I know it's kind of just ended, but
Yeah. I haven't really had any space to process much. So, and like you said, we're going to camp tomorrow, and then there's also another camp in November. So I feel like I won't really be able to process that much until after then, just because that will be my focus. But mid-November, I'll probably have some more space and time to process things out, because then it will be time to get back to work and go again.
Yeah. And I guess more focused on this game. Specifically, what were last year, you guys kind of played spoiler to Houston. Was that kind of in your mind, your approach to this game, or did you kind of ignore it because they already clinched?
Yeah, I think last week that was kind of my hope and focus, and the teams as well, and we wanted to do the same thing. And then last night they had clinched. We didn't really talk about it before the game. We just wanted to, like Albertin said, play for each other, put on a good show, go for things, be aggressive, and make it interesting, and take pride in what we did. So I think he did a good job of shifting our focus before the game to that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Scored the penalty to level the game, and up until that point, when you did score before that, what did you make of the team's response to going down?
I thought we responded pretty well. I think it was a tough time to concede because I think we actually had a lot of, maybe I'm misremembering it, but I thought we had a lot of momentum before we got scored on. And I think instead of getting deflated about that, I thought we stayed consistent, and that belief to come back and level it was really strong. And I wish we could have done it again, but
And,
well.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I had nothing else.
Wasn't sure if you were finished or not. But you said you said you couldn't do it again, but
Mhm.
again, the pressure was there, the
Mhm.
ideas were there. So do you attribute it to the unluckiness that we've been hearing? And unlucky's been a big word, or was it also a credit to Houston's defense too, or a combination of both?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything. I think I thought we had a lot of fight. I thought we could have had a little more composure in the final third, like myself included. I was like so worried about winning battles that I probably could have been a little more patient to get behind or connecting a little more. So I think that could have been better. Sorry, I feel like my voice is wavering, but I'm just really cold. Sorry, your question was, could you say it again?
Yeah, sure, that's fine. It's just about what you thought the fact that you couldn't get
Oh.
the second goal, what you attribute that to, because the fight and everything was.
Yeah, it was there, and like it doesn't always go your way, and I think I said this earlier, is like you create your own luck. So one is unlucky, but you can't always blame luck. But I think even though it was not our day, like I think we still feel proud about the effort we put in, and that's really important. So hopefully next year creating some new luck.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so coming off last year's championship season, do you think the successes of last year kind of played any factor into this season's struggles?
Yes, I think. I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. I think that there were a lot of external motivations last year. And every week there was something. I don't even know if I've said this before, but it's like every week there was something for us to like bond over and get fired up about and unite around, which is a very powerful force, but it's not sustainable. And so I think we felt like that was just going to happen for us, like because we had a very similar group, we had a very strong group, like, oh, it's just going to happen for us. And I think we unfortunately like approached things that way sometimes, and I don't think our standard for ourselves was high enough from the onset. And I don't think we laid a strong enough foundation in those standards. So I don't think we got like complacent, but I think, I don't know, we just didn't have, I haven't figured it out. I'll process it and I'll get back to you. But I do think like in this, we see it all the time in the league. It doesn't matter how much talent you have or anything. If you don't show up all game, every game, and that translates to how you train. If you don't show up every day in training and that it builds strong habits, like you're going to get punished. The league is too good for that. So I think looking forward to next year, starting with a clean slate, laying a brand new foundation to build for a longer, more successful season. Mm-hmm.
All right, Jason. No, go ahead.
Okay, I just had, I know you're going to play with the U.S., and you also said that you're playing with the U.S. women's national team, so what are you most looking forward, excited to about doing that really soon?
Definitely excited about Wembley, how quickly it's sold out. The energy is going to be insane, and playing against, a super strong opponent who just had a really great summer. So I think it's going to be a fantastic test, and I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
I guess, what's it like also going with like 4 of the other Spirit teammates today?
Yeah, it's obviously really fun, and it's a great thing about the national team, getting to play with people that you've played with and against all the time, and you just mix it up. So definitely enjoy seeing some familiar faces, but we also enjoy playing with other people too. It's good to just change up the environment. So.
All right, Jason, wrap us up.
Kind of on the same note of this trip coming up to Europe, I'm sure you're aware of at least some of what's going on with Spain.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if you had any thoughts that you maybe could share at this stage, because I know it's a complicated situation where they named the roster anyway after 15 players said they weren't going to be there. Just any thoughts that you were comfortable sharing on playing that game as a national team against them?
I am not prepared for that question. I haven't heard anything. And I'm sure but yeah, I'm sure that as players we'll talk about it together when we're all together and see what we can do to support those players who spoke up and spoke bravely and probably spoke truthfully. Like, it's very rare that players would take that strong of a stance without very serious allegations. We've been a part of it. We've seen it. So we obviously believe them. We obviously support them. And we'll figure out the best way to do that together.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Did you have one?
I did have a question.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. So like as a captain, looking at everything that you guys went through this year, the rookies, we didn't get to see a ton of time for everyone, especially compared to last year, when everyone becoming like very familiar with Trinity right off the bat.
Yeah.
And just kind of excelled. Who are some of the players who you're excited about looking towards like next season? Who you want to see
Oh,
like,
man.
more time or have like that spark that you think are going to get kind of just more attention, or we should keep an eye out for because they're going to be moving up there?
That's a really good question, because like you never know what someone's going to do when they get the opportunity. And I think I wish we had done that sooner and say like a Challenge Cup, for example. But there's honestly, you could look across our whole, I don't really have a great answer for you, honestly, because you could look across our whole roster and every day, like, training is competitive. People are having like a lights out day. And again, I'm glad I don't have to make those decisions. So I always think like that's probably such a hard job as a coach, just to pick the 11, pick the 18, pick the 20. So very proud of every single one of the teammates I've had this year, some who never saw the field and some who saw every minute, like Sam Stabb. So yeah, they'll be definitely exciting people in the future. Mm-hmm. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks, Andy. We'll see you all in, I guess, 5.5 months. Very different from last year.